But you don't. After we die, you think that's it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's it, but I don't know what happens. But it's not their fault, really. Let's say you have never tasted chocolate in your life, so you don't know how chocolate feels like. So you think, okay, you say all sorts of things about chocolate. You say it's the worst thing in the world. People have just been brainwashed. It's like, people are doing all sorts of shit. But it's not their fault because they have never gotten a chance to taste it. Lust, lying, thieving, all those qualities were created by God too.
And do you still consider yourself Hindu, or are you?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
I don't think someone should be a Christian because they grew up Christian.
Because, yeah, the truth is important.
And Jesus says that He is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to God but by Him. No one comes to the Father but by Him.
Right.
This is the Gospel of John.
Yeah.
So this is one book in the Bible. It talks about Jesus' life here on earth,
Right.
what He did, what He said.
Yeah.
$1 million question for you.
Sure, man.
If you were to die today, where would you be for eternity?
Where would I be for eternity?
Yeah, heaven or hell?
I don't know, man.
You don't know? What do you think it would take to get to heaven?
I don't really think there's a heaven, man. I think what we make of life in right now, this is heaven. Like what life you have right now, the opportunities you have, you help people, you live a good life. That is heaven in itself. Is what I think.
Gotcha. So are you atheist?
No, man, I'm not. I'm religious.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, yeah.
But you don't, after we die, you think that's it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's it, but I don't know what happens.
I see. If there were a heaven,
Yeah.
what do you think it would take to get to that heaven?
Live a good life, man. Good deeds, help people. Yeah. Keep away from things that, all the seven sins, jealousy, stuff like that. Yeah.
Don't do those. Don't do the bad bad things.
Yeah, yeah.
I ask this question to a lot of people. Answer I get 99% of the time, or 99.9% of the time. Be a good person.
Yeah.
If someone's religious, they'll say, don't sin, follow God's commandments. Here's the problem. You ever done bad?
Yeah.
How often do you do bad?
Pretty often. Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
Appreciate the honesty. Like, have you ever lied before?
Yeah.
Ever stolen anything, even if it was something small?
Yeah.
Ever lusted?
Yeah.
So just those three things would be lying, thieving, adulterer. If God were to judge you on His standards, would you be a good person or a bad person?
Bad person.
Bad person. Innocent or guilty?
Guilty, man.
Guilty. If you were guilty before a perfect, righteous, and holy God, heaven or hell?
I mean, they say that God in His mercy looks at us as His children. So it's like, even if a child makes a mistake, if I tell a child, if I have a son of my own, and if I tell him, you know what, if you go out to play today and don't do your homework, I won't give you food. But then if he does go out to play today, I will still give him food because he's my child. So that's what I look at God as. Like, I look at God as being loving, so that there are commandments in which you have to live a good life, but I feel God in His almightiness still forgives people and takes people in no matter what you have done.
Well, so a lot of people will give that analogy, but let me expand the analogy a little further. If you had two sons, and the one son loved you, cared for you, he made mistakes, but he asked for forgiveness, things like that, and you cared for him. The other son didn't. He rejected you. He rejected the food you tried to give him. And not only that, he tried to harm the other son.
Yeah.
What happens at that point?
I would still give that other son, I'd actually give that other son more care and respect, because I'd feel that he needs a lot more care because he's in a bad or wrong path, and it's my responsibility to correct him because I brought him into the world, just like God brought us into the world.
But what if he rejects that? What if he doesn't receive it? Then whose choice is it? Who's doing the rejection there?
I don't think I'd blame him, honestly. For example, let's say you have something like, let's say, religion in itself. If people aren't introduced to it, or people haven't actually tasted the beauty of it, they have different ideas about it, right? But it's not their fault, really. Let's say you have never tasted chocolate in your life, so you don't know how chocolate feels like. So you think, okay, you say all sorts of things about chocolate. You say it's the worst thing in the world. People have just been brainwashed. It's like, people are doing all sorts of shit. But it's not their fault because they have never gotten a chance to taste it. So I don't know. I try to bring him back into this path so that he can also, enjoy the food that I'm providing him.
Well, a couple of things there. One, in the chocolate example, it would be their fault for saying, oh, the chocolate's the worst thing in the world, if they've never tried it. The best that they could say and be blameless would say, I don't know.
Right.
But if they were to bring accusation against the chocolate, then there's something deeper.
Yeah.
So in Christianity, it's that God does love all that He's created, but not all that He's created are automatically His children. That's something that other things will teach, but that's not the case. God wants us to be his children. But it says in John chapter 1 that those that believe on him or believe in him gave you the right to become the sons of God, to become the children of God. So in Christianity, it's not what we do that gets to heaven. Like you mentioned, lying, thieving, lusting, those things that actually be death and separation from God. But God in his love, because he wants you to be his son, he died for you. He took the punishment that you deserved. He took the price. Now, he's given you a free will. You can either receive that free gift, you can taste the chocolate, or you can say, no, I reject it. Now, the person that rejects the chocolate, well, then they are to blame because they're refusing the good thing. And they'll suffer the consequences of it. They'll never get to enjoy the chocolate. The person that rejects God will be rejecting the source of all that which is good, all that is true, all that is lovely, all that is pure. This world that we're in isn't going to last forever, where this is a in-between place. And after here, we're either going to go to be with God forever, or we're going to choose to reject him forever. But the choice ultimately is ours. If it was just based on our choices here on earth and on doing right or wrong, we'd all be separated from God. Because God's perfect, we've all missed it. We've all messed up. But God in his grace has made a way for even those of us that have messed up, or all of us who have messed up, to come to him. But it's only through the cross. And the reason why it's through the cross is because that requires humility. You have to acknowledge, I have sinned. My sin deserved death. God is loving and gracious and merciful and forgiving, but he's also just. And the only way that he can judge my sin and forgive me is through the cross and through Jesus. And so salvation isn't based on our merit or what we do. It's based on trusting solely in him.
Interesting. Interesting. That's interesting. And you say that though God created everything, not all of us are his children. I don't think I agree with that point, because I feel like, everything, like, the same God that in his wisdom created us, created everything in the world. So people, anything like, let's say lust, lying, thieving, all those qualities were created by God too, because everything in the world was created by God.
Not necessarily. Here's why. If if God is truth and he gives you a free will, then that would mean you'd be able to freely choose truth. You'd have to have the capacity to lie, but it doesn't mean God doesn't have to create the lie. So your ability to reject that which is good doesn't mean that he created that sin. So God created sex, for example. He created to be between a man and woman in marriage. Now we have the physical capacity to break that in various ways, and many people do in this world. But that doesn't mean that God created the sin. He created sex, but he created it to be in a certain context, but people have chosen to go outside of his will. To the other point about all of us being our children, do you want to have children someday?
Yeah.
When your children have children, are your grandkids automatically your children?
They're automatically my family.
They're descendants of your prodigy. They're descendants of your creation, but in it, we're in the family of God, not based on blood. In the Old Testament, it was that way. You were of the Jewish people. You were of that nation. People could join. They could be proselytized and come in. But now in the new covenant with God, it's open to all. But it's a free will choice on both sides. You're relating just between God and man as like father and child. And that's an accurate understanding. It says, our Father who art in heaven. It's, that's part of the Lord's Prayer. But there's another type of relationship that God uses to represent his relationship between us and him. Do you know what that is? It's a marriage. It says that Jesus is the bridegroom and the church is his bride. Do you want to be married someday? Would you want to just pick a woman and force her to marry you? Would you want a woman to pick you and force you to marry her? It'd be a free will choice on both sides. And one day, you're going to get down on a knee, presumably, and propose. You'll hold up a ring, and she'll have an option of saying, she'll have two responses she can give you. What responses can she give you? Yes or no. Those are the only options. Well, it's the same with God. Jesus has, metaphorically speaking, gotten down on one knee, but literally speaking, gotten down to the cross. The God that spoke this world into being, 200 billion galaxies in the visible universe, just what we can see, spoke it into being, humbled himself, condescended, emptied himself of his godly attributes or God, nature, became a man, lived a sinless life, and even though he never sinned, he went to the cross and died. He took the punishment. Far greater of a proposal than any man has ever made to a woman here on earth. Now, we are left with the choice of choosing yes or no. And the reason is because love requires a choice. So God does love us. Just like a man could love a woman and be would be the best husband to her, but she could still freely choose no. And if she did, she would suffer the consequences of that. And that man, even if he loves her, can't force her to change her mind. He can't force her to make that choice. He has to, if he respects her free will, he has to respect her decision. In the same way, God typically respects our free will. He typically doesn't intervene and force us to do something. He lets us make the choice. So God will give you the choice to either say yes to him or say no to him.
Really makes a lot of sense, man.
What's your name?
My name is Rakshit, man.
Rakshit?
Rakshit, yeah.
I'm Andrew.
Andrew.
Yes, nice to meet you, Rakshit. Where are you from?
I'm from India.
From India.
Yeah.
Did you grow up Hindu or?
Hindu, yeah.
Hindu,
I'm
okay.
Hindu, yeah.
I meet different people from India. Some people I know, the Indian restaurant I like, they're Sikh. And then I met Christians from India too. Much more rare.
Yeah. No, but actually, I do have a lot of Christian friends from India.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do you still consider yourself Hindu, or are you?
Yeah, I do. I try to see it because so I just moved here a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And
Your English is very good.
oh, thank you, man. So yeah, so my life kind of changed completely. I moved away from my family, my friends, my life back in India.
Mhm.
So I still try to stay connected to my religions, traditions, festivals that we celebrate as a way of staying grounded into my identity of who I am.
Mhm.
Because in a world for me that is everything is changing, it is something that I can hold on to, stay connected, and not feel that I'm changing beyond something that all the values that my parents have given me since I've grown up. I don't want to leave that because those are some of the most valuable things in my life. Of course, success, money, everything is important, but if I can't have that identity and like that belief in myself, I don't think that's for anything. So,
Well, what I would say in response to that, let me put it this way: if someone were to come to me and they grew up Christian, and I said, "Oh, well, why are you a Christian?" They said, "Well, I'm a Christian because my parents were Christian, and I like that identity and the value and all that things." I would say, well, there has to be something actually deeper.
Yeah.
Like, to be a Christian means you have to personally have been born again. You have to personally have encountered Jesus. And that's what it comes down to. I don't think someone should be a Christian because they grew up Christian. I do think people should become Christians, but I think people should become Christians because it's true, not based on how they grew up.
Right.
I personally grew up in a home where we told we were Christian, but we didn't go to church. It wasn't part of our normal experience. It's You're not really part of American culture anymore. If you look at the American culture, it's far from what Christianity would discuss as appropriate or okay. But I'm a Christian not because I was born in America. I'm a Christian because I searched these things out and found Christianity to be true. A lot of people nowadays in America, it's becoming trendy for people to believe in reincarnation because they like the idea of it. I think it's stupid to believe in something just because you like the idea of it. Like, you should believe in something because it's true. You and I could believe whatever we want about gravity. We go to the top of this building and jump off together. Our beliefs don't matter. Gravity is what it is. Same with God. You and I could believe whatever we want about God, but God is who He is, regardless of what we believe about Him. So we have to come to God as He is and know Him as He is. Have you ever read other religious texts or the teachings of Jesus?
I have. I'm not formally, but I have come across a couple. Yeah.
I have here, if you'd like it. This is the Gospel of John.
Yeah.
So this is one book in the Bible. It talks about Jesus' life here on earth,
Right.
what He did, what He said.
Yeah.
You can have it. That's yours.
For sure. Yeah. Great, man. Really nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, Rakshit.
Like, what do you do around here, man? Like,
We share the gospel. We should talk about Jesus with people and share what.
do you have a church nearby? Or like?
We meet at.
Okay. Really nice meeting you. Can I connect with you somewhere?
Yeah. Let me. I'll give you my number and you can send me a text.
For sure.
And if you could send me your first and last name.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think really it's important, man. Like, people believing in something is really important in this world where everything is corroding, right? So many things are just corroding, and the old values of family and traditions are just going away, and people are doing things to themselves because of what they call freedom. They're doing horrible things to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there really needs to be kind of connect back to
How do you spell?
Rakshit, XIT.
Oh, IT.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And my last name, really. So it's
I
great.
agree. Yeah, people are just going after what pleases their flesh,
yeah.
not realizing it's bringing destruction
Exactly.
to them.
Exactly.
But I would say it's important to believe in the right thing. I would go back to truth is important.
Right.
We can't believe, even if someone believes in something that gives them hope and gives them peace and gives them comfort, if it's false, it's actually not good to believe in that thing. You said you want to be married one day, right? What if would you marry a woman who she would do all the things that would show that she loves you, she would care for you, be forgiving and gracious to you when you did wrong, but in the end, she never actually really loved you. You just found out she was a spy working for another country that was married to you only to be a spy. No, you never knew it. You never knew it. Your whole life, you could go and die and never know it. And it would seem like she loved you. Would you want that marriage?
No.
Why not?
Because the truth is important.
Because the truth is important. And so that's why I would challenge just the point. I understand why people want hope and peace and comfort and all those things. But truth, without truth, none of those things even matter.
Right.
It has to be based in truth. And Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to God but by him. No one comes to the Father but by him.
Right. Beautiful, man. I'll definitely read this book.
Yeah, of course.
Really nice meeting you today.
Nice to meet you too, Rakshit.
Have a great day, man.
Take care. God bless.